Hey everybody, welcome to our Tuesday class again. Sorry that I missed you last week, but hey everybody, welcome to our Tuesday class. Sorry that I missed you last week, but I am very excited to be with you again today. This week we are going to be going over two different types of very old cookies. So we are going to be making fortune cookies, and we're also going to be making pizzelles, which have been in my family as long as I've been alive. My great aunts growing up, they would always make them for every single holiday, and my mom has carried that tradition through, and so every single holiday she makes pizzelle cookies as well, and so that's where I learned how to make them from. So I just have a couple things that I wanted to go over, about the fortune cookie and about the pizzelle. Maybe a couple things that you guys didn't know about them. The fortune cookie was invented by a San Francisco bakery called Bankyoto. David Young, founder of Hong Kong Noodle Company, though, in LA, he also claimed to have invented the fortune cookie back in 1918. So this has kind of been a small dispute that's gone on in the history of the fortune cookie. And actually in 1983, the Court of Historical Review, they attempted to get to the bottom of who actually invented the fortune cookie, but it was never determined that there was enough evidence that either bakery came up with the idea. So as far as that is concerned, we aren't 100%. But the fortune cookie is enjoyed all over the world, most popularly in Britain, Mexico, Italy, France, and the United States, of course. How many times you go out to eat and you get a little fortune cookie when you're out at Panda or your favorite local Chinese restaurant? It's a pretty common thing. But while some believe that they originated in China, researchers have actually found evidence that something like a similar type of cookie actually originated in Japan, and that is why they don't serve fortune cookies in China. So if you have ever traveled to China or you've ever visited there, you would know that you don't typically see a fortune cookie, and that is because researchers have come to believe, following evidence throughout the years, that it actually originated in Japan, because they have always had a similar type of cookie with the fortune inside. So yeah, that's a little bit about the fortune cookie. I don't know if you guys ever, I had no idea about a lot of that when I was researching that. And so I thought I would just share a little bit with you. So then moving on to the pizzelle. So I've always known a pizzelle as being a flat, round cookie, and it usually typically has the stamp of either a snowflake or, some other kind of intricate design on it. And then it's typically dusted in powdered sugar. That's just how, I've always grown up with them. But some people dip them in chocolate. Some people drizzle them in different types of chocolate, either white chocolate, dark chocolate, all sorts of different kinds of chocolate. I also like to make them into ice cream cones or a waffle bowl because they go perfectly with ice cream. When we were doing farmers markets back in a couple years ago, when I first started Petita Stories here in Southern California, one of our main things is our homemade ice cream. That's something that we, pride ourselves on, and we make all sorts of different flavors. We would serve that with our fresh pizzelle cone or bowl. And so this is something that we did at farmers markets. My mom would be making the pizzelles fresh, and she would just take the pizzelle while it was warm and lay it over the bottom of a cup. So we're going to also do that today. I'm going to show you guys how to turn these into a waffle bowl or a waffle cone. I'm not sure how many of you guys like eating your ice cream in just a regular glass bowl, but I always love it with a waffle bowl or a waffle cone. So we're going to show you how to do that. So a little bit on the history of the pizzelle is they're actually one of the oldest known cookies, and they originated in the midsection of Italy. So these are some pretty old cookies. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of the times when people are talking about pastry and baking, France is talked about in a large portion of influence. And actually the Italians, thanks to the Medici family, also had a very wide range of influence on the arts and food and desserts as well. And actually when Catherine de Medici went to France, she also brought all of her, chocolatiers, her ice cream makers, her cookie makers, and they influenced a very popular cookie today that's known as the French macaroon. Well, or they're also called the pastel macaroon, but Catherine de Medici had a big influence in that as well. So she brought a lot of that with her from Italy into France. So they were made many years ago for the Festival of the Snake, also known as Feast Day of San Domenico, in the village of Colculo in the Italian region of Abruzzo. So I'm not sure if you guys know very much about Italy, but this is in the midsection of Italy is where these cookies originated from. The word pizzelle comes from the Italian word pizza, meaning round and flat. You also know that that sounds like another very popular Italian food, the pizza, right? Round and flat, it makes sense. And then the L portion of it means small, because pizzelles are typically small. They're typically, you'll see later at the end of our segment when we're all done baking our cookies, but they're just small, flat, delicious, super simple, tasty cookies. So there are other similar cookies, similar to the pizzelle, from all over the world. Something that is really, really similar to it is called the Norwegian crumb cake. So this is, something that's very similar to the pizzelle, except it is made in Norway. Being that it is perhaps the world's oldest cookie, the ancestor is probably the Roman crustulum. So this again is similar in shape and size. So back in ancient Roman times, in ancient Greek times, they have kind of followed back this same griddle type baking method for these types of cookies with, a simple design on it. You throw it on a hot griddle and you let it bake until it's a nice golden brown. So yeah, that's a little bit about the pizzelle. It goes all the way back to ancient Rome and ancient Greece, which is pretty cool. So if you've ever had them, then you are eating something that, maybe someone hundreds of thousands of years ago also ate. It's pretty cool. All right, so the first thing that we are going to work on today are our fortune cookies. So we're going to make our fortune cookies first. I already wrote up our little fortunes. I wrote funny little sayings on them so that when my roommates later on, they enjoy them. They'll get a nice little saying inside. So I already have pre-scaled out all of my dry ingredients. So if you look at the recipe, I posted them last night on the Facebook page. So if you guys are watching on Instagram, make sure you head over to Facebook and get those recipes. For the fortune cookie, it's super simple. Very, very simple. It's just 58 grams of egg whites, 2 grams of vanilla. I'm going to use the same vanilla that I've been using, the Nielsen Massey vanilla bean paste. 62 grams of flour, 100 grams of sugar, and just a little pinch of salt. So in this measuring cup right here, I already have scaled out my sugar and my salt and my flour. So those 3 ingredients, all my dry ingredients are right here. And in my mixing bowl, I already have my egg whites scaled out, so that we can just go ahead and start whipping our egg whites. So when you first start whipping the egg whites, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn it on medium speed, and we're going to just let those whip up until they're nice and foamy and almost to a soft peak. So you don't want to let them mix too much before we add our dry ingredients, but you also don't want to add them too soon, because then they won't have enough air in the egg white and the cookie won't completely form. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my mixer. while my egg whites are mixing, I'm going to go ahead and add my vanilla. You can go ahead and add your vanilla directly into your egg whites while they're whipping. So don't worry at home if you don't have the KitchenAid. You can go ahead and use just a bowl and a whisk. Since you're not whipping your egg whites to stiff peak, you can do it by hand. It'll take just a little bit longer, but you can still do it by hand. Alright, so that is just about at the size that I want it with the whisk. You don't want to do it too much, but you also don't want to do it too little. So I'm just going to go ahead and slowly add my dry ingredients into my egg whites. And as you are adding your dry ingredients, you'll notice that the cookie dough is becoming more of a paste. Alright, so once you add all of your dry ingredients, you'll notice that your egg whites have now became more of like a paste. So you can go ahead and take your batter, and I'm going to show you a picture once I add the little bit of dry ingredients that were kind of on the side of the bowl here. I just want to make sure that everything's added together. And you can see it's a nice paste, okay? It's not too thick, it's not too thin. It's just right, like Goldilocks would say. So then I'm going to take my 2 sheet pans. And I did a test batch yesterday of these. And I found that if you spray your parchment paper with your pan spray, just regular pan spray, it makes it a lot easier to get the cookies off of the parchment once they come out of the oven. So I have preheated my oven to 350 degrees, and we're going to bake them for approximately 8 minutes, or a nice golden brown color. So yesterday was the first time that I have ever made fortune cookies before. I did a little test batch before today's class. You want to make sure that these cookies are golden brown almost all the way in the entire circle. Okay, if they are not, they're not going to have that nice crisp when you go to bite into it or when you go to snap the cookie to get your fortune out, okay? So you really want to make sure that you're baking these long enough in the oven so that you have that nice crunch, okay? Alright, so what I'm going to do now is, after I fix my camera, I am going to take the 1 tablespoon, and I'm just going to take a tablespoon of the cookie batter and just lay it directly on the parchment. Alright, so it should form into about a 3-inch diameter. And if yours is a little runny, you know, maybe you added a little bit too much of the egg white, that's okay. If you catch it in time, you can add a little bit of extra flour, you know, to kind of thicken up your batter, and then that'll kind of even it out. Otherwise, don't worry about it. It might just run a little bit bigger, but that's no big deal. So you want to make sure that you space out your cookies enough. I'm going to go ahead and face the cameras down so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So you guys can now see how I have the cookie dough spaced. I don't want to tilt it too much because I don't want the cookie batter to run. And this is going to make about 10 fortune cookies. Okay, so I'm going to put, I might make a little more. Let's see. I'm going to put 6 on this tray. And then I'll do the rest of the batter on this tray. The reason that I split them onto 2 trays is so that they don't run together, so that they have enough space to kind of spread out, as you can see if you're watching. This is a very simple recipe, very simple ingredients. It smells delicious because I added that vanilla bean in there. You can also see, if you're watching, you can see on my cookies the little black specks. That's my vanilla. If you have just regular vanilla at home, that's obviously perfectly fine. Or if you want to get adventurous with it and do a different flavor, like orange. Orange is good. Sometimes, you know, when you get them from the Chinese restaurant, they're orange flavored. You could do almond flavored. I know there's some people who aren't a big fan of that almond extract, but I happen to be someone who absolutely loves it. So you don't have to stick with the vanilla. I just use the vanilla because it's traditional. All right, so that's all of my batter. It made 13 cookies, and I'm going to take this and throw it into the oven. Set an 8-minute timer. So I went ahead and I set my timer. I'm going to adjust my cameras back. I went ahead and set my timer for 8 minutes, and we will check it at 8 minutes. But like I said, you want to make sure that they're really nice and golden brown, because if they are not golden enough brown, they're not going to be a nice crispy cookie, all right? I did this yesterday and they were a little soft, but that's okay. We still ate them. We still enjoyed them. They're still good. Okay, so I'm going to set my fortunes back here. And also, while the cookies are cooling, if you have a mini cupcake or muffin tin, you can lay your cookies inside as they cool, so that they hold their, you know, round shape, their crescent moon shape. All right? All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to move on to the Pizzelle cookies. So I have pre-scaled my melted butter and my sugar together. So that's what's in this bowl. In this bowl is my flour and my baking powder. I've got the vanilla that I'm going to use because I'm going to use vanilla. I might actually use some orange too. I'm a big fan of orange emulsion and orange flavored things, so I'm going to do a little hint of orange as well. And again, like I said with the fortune cookie, if you have a preference of flavor, you can add whatever flavor you want. You can also make these Pizzelles chocolate by adding cocoa powder to your dry ingredients over there if you wanted to. Those would also go really well with ice cream. So one of the main things here that I want to teach you about is our wet ingredients, the eggs and the melted butter, go with our sugar. But I have the eggs scaled out separately into this bowl right here, and not with the butter and the sugar. And that's because if you add your eggs prematurely to your sugar before you're going to mix all of the ingredients and use the batter, you could dry your eggs out and cook your eggs actually. So sugar is hygroscopic, and what that means is it absorbs a lot of water from different things. So you don't want to, and what are eggs, right? Eggs are like 40% water because of the egg white. It's mostly made up of water. So the main thing here is you don't want to prematurely add your eggs to your sugar. Otherwise, your cookie batter might turn out messed up if you don't mix it all together and use it quick enough. All right, so that's why I have these ingredients scaled out separately. So I've got my melted butter and my sugar and my eggs. Our recipe says 300 grams of sugar, 227 grams of melted butter, so 1 cup, 300 grams of eggs, 440 grams of flour, 25 grams of vanilla or whatever flavoring you want to use. Another traditional flavoring for pizzelles is anise flavoring, so it's kind of like a black licorice flavor. If you're interested in black licorice and if you like black licorice, they are amazing. I know a lot of people don't really like black licorice, but I happen to also love it again. And so my mom always makes sure that she makes a little batch of those for me. Thanks, Mom. So yeah, and then 18 grams of baking powder, okay? So we're going to go ahead and add our eggs now into our butter and our sugar mixture. I'm just going to spatula that into there. So I'm using a whisk to whisk all these ingredients together. So you can see it's all nice and together. It looks all nice and mixed together. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add our flour and our baking powder. Alright, this recipe is really easy. Another super simple recipe. And I'm just going to whisk this together. And I'm also going to add my flavorings, okay guys? So I'm going to add vanilla. And I'm going to add a little hint of orange, alright? So I make sure I shake up my flavors. Go ahead and add just a hint. And this one smells very good. It smells very potent as soon as you take the cap off. It's very orangey. So you don't need to use a lot, just a little bit. Alright, so I'm just mixing this together. Super easy. And at the beginning of my video, I turned on my Pizzelle iron, so I plugged it in. Some of them have an actual switch. Mine, you just plug it in and it starts warming up. You want to make sure that your iron is hot, okay? Kind of like a couple weeks ago when we were doing our churros, you want to make sure that your oil is hot enough before you guys start putting in your batter, right? Otherwise your churros are not going to cook properly. They're going to be kind of soggy and weird. You absolutely have to make sure that your Pizzelle iron is hot, okay? It's just like with a waffle iron. It's just like with a pancake, a griddle. You want to make sure that this is hot enough for when you put your first sets of batter on there. So mine has a little indicator on the front when it is ready and when it is hot. And so mine has been on for a little while, and so it is ready to go. And I'll show you guys my batter. Also, it's a nice, put together, thick batter, okay? And you can see, again, the flecks of the vanilla, because I use that vanilla bean paste. That's what those black flecks are in my batter. I'm going to go check on the fortune cookies really quick and maybe rotate the pan so that they bake evenly. So give me just a second. Okay, so I went ahead and I rotated my fortune cookies in the oven so they bake more evenly. Something that I want to stress to you right now is when you're doing your fortune cookies, they're not going to be perfectly round. As they bake, they're going to have, kind of squiggles on the edges. Do not worry. Okay, these are homemade fortune cookies. They're not going to look like the ones that you get from the Chinese restaurant. You're not a machine. This is completely normal. Alright, you're making something homemade. You're making something artisan. It's going to not look machine made. You're not a machine, okay? I stress this a lot with my sister. My sister, she stresses a lot about, presentation and the perfect look of her baked goods. Something that I always tell her is, if you're giving someone a gift of the baked good, you want it to look like it's homemade. You want it to look like it's handmade. You want it to look artistic, okay? Baking it's art, alright? My baking is going to be completely different from my sister's baking, completely different from your guys' baking. Everything is completely, it's all beautiful, It doesn't need to look perfect. There is no perfect baked good. You know, you look at stuff on Pinterest. Echo. Timer off. You look at things on Pinterest, but you know, a lot of the time for those photos, they're not even using real food, okay? They're using things that look like food, but it looks too perfect, all right? So shoot for perfection, but if it doesn't look absolutely perfect, don't worry about it. It's going to be delicious. And the person that you're giving it to for a gift is going to absolutely love it, okay? All right, so our cookie batter is all ready to go. My timer went off for my fortune cookies, so I'm going to check those in another like 2 minutes or so, just because when I looked at them, they were still pretty pale. So when you start moving your, when you start putting your cookie batter onto your Pizzelle iron, you want to use the pan spray again, okay? Just like you used the pan spray for the fortune cookies, you want to use it again here, all right? This is a big one. So just spray a little bit. And that's just going to help prevent sticking when we need to take our cookies off the iron. Alright? So I have a fancy little scooper that hopefully will be enough batter. Alright, so I'm going to lower my camera here so you guys can kind of see my iron. So as you can see on the edges here, it is a little bit of excess batter. That is okay. I would rather have a little bit of extra batter versus not having enough batter on your iron, alright? So I don't know, Instagram, Facebook, guys, I think all you guys can see the edge right here. There's a little bit of excess batter, alright? And it smells really good because I added that tiny bit of orange in there. It really is a nice aroma. Okay? So you can kind of smell as you are baking your pizzelles when they'll get done because they have a more finished smell to them, just like when you are making waffles at home. Okay? But I'm going to just go ahead and take a little peek. Yep, they're still pretty light, so I'm going to put that right back down and give it another minute or so. Because you really want to make sure that they are brown enough, just like the fortune cookie. Because if they're not brown enough, they're going to be soggy. And nobody likes a soggy bottom or soggy pizzelles, alright? Okay, so our pizzelles are just about done. Same with our fortune cookies. So our fortune cookies are also just about done. So I'm not going to put any more pizzelles on yet because I grabbed all my little... Alright. I'm going to grab the first tray of the fortune cookies out. And I grabbed the first pair of pizzelles out of the iron as well. Once those cool off, I will lift them up and show you. Okay, so what I'm going to do here with the fortune cookie, I went ahead and took it off of the pan. I'm going to try to move this down again so that you guys can kind of see the... So, as you can see, my fortune cookies, they're not like perfectly circular, but that's no problem. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to take our fortune and we're going to lay it right inside. And these are hot, so be careful. Just be aware that these are going to be hot, okay? When you go to take them off of the parchment. And voila, okay, you see? Nice crescent moon shape. And then I'm going to pop it right into my muffin tin. And you gotta work quick, because as these cookies, as they cool, they're not going to become they're not going to be malleable anymore. All right, so you want to work really quick. So put your fortune in, fold it over, and then put it into the tin. Fold it over, fold it again, and you got it into a nice fortune cookie shape, alright? And you could give these to your neighbors, you could give these to your friends. These would be a fun gift to give. You could write nice things that you like about your friends in there. And you can see the edge of my cookies is nice and brown, alright? And they smell super delicious too. And I just want to stress again, if these don't look like the ones you get from the store, do not worry. Alright? Alright, I ran out of fortunes because I made a couple extra cookies. So I guess I'm just going to fold these ones up and put them into the mini muffin tin. And you gotta work fast, because if these cool, you're not going to be able to shape them, okay? Alright. And then you can see at the end, they look like this once they're nice and cool. Alright? So you can see, everybody can see? Awesome. So I'm going to set these over to finish cooling into their shape on the back table. And now I'm going to show you guys my pizzelles. Alright, so you can see the pizzelle. You see the cool little design on there? It looks like a flower. And depending on which pizzelle iron you have, it's either a flower or it might be a snowflake. You know, and the back is a different design, so the front is a flower and the back is just a checkerboard. Alright, so that is what we're looking for today with our 2 different types of cookies that we're making. Does anybody have any questions about anything that I've gone over today? If you have any questions, go ahead and ask now. Any questions? Does anybody have any suggestions for what we should do next week? If there's no questions or suggestions, I'm going to go ahead and just bake off all of these pizzelles, and then I will post a picture of the finished product as soon as I am done. Here, let me show you before I go. I will show you how to do the ice cream bowl. Okay, so while these ones are cooking, I'm going to go grab a glass so I can show you guys. Alright, so any cup will do, as long as it's got a nice bottom on it like this. I went ahead and grabbed a Kool-Aid cup. I figured we'd do a nice little flashback to our childhoods, right? I think we got these out of like one of the, I don't know, the cereal boxes, you know, you collect those points and you can send it in the mail and they send you a prize. I think my brother and I, that's how we got these cups. And I still have them 25 years later, I guess, because I'm 32 now. Alright, so the important part when you guys are making your ice cream cone or ice cream bowl, what you guys want to do is you want to do it just like the fortune cookie while the cookie is still malleable. Okay, these cookies are nice and thin, so when they're hot, you can mold them into a shape. So just like the fortune cookie, we folded it and then we folded it again and then put it into the thing as it cooled. We're going to take the flat pizzelle and we're just going to wrap it around the bottom of the cup here. Okay, and it's going to be hot, so just be aware that if you want to make a ice cream bowl or an ice cream cone, you might, you know, your hands, you might burn yourself a little bit. Not anything crazy, but just a little bit. You got to toughen your hands up if you want to make ice cream bowls. So I'm just going to check the color. So they're still a little bit light. Again, you want to make sure that they're nice and golden brown, because if they're too light, they're not going to hold your ice cream very well, right? Because they're already going to be pretty soggy. I will be making assorted boxes of desserts for Mother's Day. If anybody is interested in getting your mom some Petit Astorias, we will be doing boxes, okay? There's more to come on my Facebook page and Instagram for that. Alright, so the Pizzelle came out of the iron. And so I just laid it right on top of this, so it makes a nice bowl shape, okay? You don't want to press too much because it'll break. You don't want your Pizzelle cookie to break. Alright, and what we do for the cone is you take the hot Pizzelle and you just go nice and easy, and it's now a nice cone shape, see? So it's a perfect little cone shape. Alright, so I'm just going to lay that down while it cools. And then while this one cools as well, you can see it's a nice bowl, nice waffle bowl. Alright? Awesome. So I will go ahead and post more pictures of all my finished products later. And I hope you guys do the same. If you guys are baking with me today, post your pictures on our Facebook page or tag us if you post on your Facebook page. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. I think we might do ice cream. So if we end up doing ice cream, we will wait another week. So we won't have a class next week. And we'll wait a week so that you guys can go ahead and get all of the supplies and an ice cream machine. I know that there are some cheap attachments that you can get if you do have a KitchenAid. There are also a couple of cheap options on Amazon. So if we end up doing the ice cream, we will take next week off and we'll follow up that following week, and I will teach you guys how to do ice cream, okay? Maybe we'll do that because it is hot. I know you guys can see I'm sweating. It is over 80 degrees here in Southern California, but I'm not complaining because I love the heat. And so yeah, we will see you again in 2 weeks, okay? And we'll make ice cream. Alright, take care, stay safe, be kind to each other, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care, guys.